Clear director, Charlie Foxer, 25 right.
We're on board flight ECA 123 bound for Brussels. This is a fictional flight, but these are real, seasoned commercial pilots demonstrating real scenarios they experience at high altitudes.
Number 2 is running normal, but I would like to keep it that way. Yeah.
We're about to land when a message comes in from air traffic control.
Go around track.
Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up. What you just saw here is the normal interaction between pilots at any given time. We usually do have one pilot flying and one pilot monitoring. Monitoring doesn't mean that you don't do anything else. We are sharing the tasks.
For instance, if you have an instruction from air traffic control telling you to climb, so the pilot monitoring will read back on the radio, okay, will acknowledge the instruction to climb. The pilot flying will then program the new altitude into the aircraft. Pilot monitoring will make sure that what has been done by the pilot flying is correct, and then will monitor the aircraft to see it react accordingly to what has been put. So it's a lot of inputs, and it's the constant cross-check.
Global aviation rules require 2 pilots in the cockpit for all commercial flights.
100.
The regulation is based on the principle of redundancy, where there is a backup for every system in case it fails. This includes pilots.
In fact, there used to be 5 pilots in the cockpit. There used to be a captain, a first officer, a flight engineer, a radio operator, and a navigator. So we used to have 5. And then as time went on and automation became more sophisticated, we were slowly able to eliminate some of those positions.
Now, Airbus, which is currently the world's top commercial airplane manufacturer based on aircraft delivered, is spearheading the move to remove the second pilot. So how does this work? In a concept referred to as Extended Minimum Crew Operations, or MCO, Airbus is proposing 2 pilots in the cockpit during takeoff for long-haul flights. In the cruise phase, the second pilot goes to rest in the cabin, leaving 1 pilot alone in the cockpit for hours. The second pilot returns for the landing. Airbus says enhanced automation would replace the second pilot during the cruise phase of the flight. Pilots in Europe say they can't believe Airbus has come up with this.
I've been flying for over 30 years, and when I speak to my colleagues, it is disbelief, because there are so many aspects which require 2 pilots on the flight deck. It is, as I said, a gamble with safety. These aircraft are designed to be operated by 2 pilots. These airplanes are complex machines. They need to be operated in complex environments, busy airspace, busy air traffic control, and you can only do that with 2 sets of brains and 4 eyes.
An Airbus representative gave this statement to DW.
We believe that pilots will remain at the heart of operations and that automation can play a crucial role by assisting them in the cockpit and reducing workload. Thanks to additional automated functions, pilots can organize shifts where 1 pilot controls the flight while the other pilot rests.
But experts are warning about what they say is over-reliance on technology in Airbus's plan.
First of all, I think this is a tremendously bad idea. Okay, as a safety expert, as an automation expert, automation is very, as we say in the automation business, dumb and dutiful. It will do as it's programmed. And when things change in the operational world, automation quite frequently doesn't know that. It's the pilots that are able to solve these problems. And what Airbus isn't telling everyone is there are an unlimited number of cases in there where it's pilots catching automation misbehaving. We just finished doing a project with the FAA examining automation problems that included both Boeing, Airbus, and Embraer aircraft, where there are problems with automation, and it's pilots that are catching these problems.
Engine Master 1.
Airbus has presented its proposal to the European aviation regulator EASA, where it is being reviewed.
Airbus first is developing a set of advanced cockpit technologies. So it's about new cockpit technologies that are intended to first to improve the safety of current operations. Airbus thinks that such new technologies could potentially allow in the future one of the two pilots during the cruise phase of flight to rest, while the other is in control of the airplane, aided by the airplane.
But what happens if something suddenly happens to the pilot alone in the cockpit? This report, funded by the EU, came to the conclusion that the possibility of the pilot flying suddenly becoming impaired is one of the big problem areas for Airbus's plan. It says incapacitation of the pilot flying is one of the main hazards that must be mitigated to enable the extended minimum crew operation. Some airlines are reportedly keen on the idea. In 2021, one of Asia's biggest carriers, Cathay Pacific, was reported to be developing the project with Airbus. The German carrier Lufthansa also worked on the concept, but a spokesperson said there were no immediate plans to use it. For a number of years now, some airlines have been quietly lobbying for the two-pilot rules to be relaxed. The push regained momentum in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, where a global shortage of pilots saw airlines having to give in to union demands of big pay rises for their members.
The question we ask ourselves also is, what problem are you solving to the airplane manufacturers? It is clearly commercially driven. Airbus is a company which is very automation, new technology oriented. So for them, it is an opportunity to create an aircraft which the other large competitor, Boeing, doesn't have. Boeing is not working on anything single pilot related. So yeah, they could have an aircraft which can do something which other aircraft cannot, and maybe through that save some pilots on the flight deck, and that's a commercial drive for them. But of course, it is driven by their customers, by the airlines. They want to save money to make more profits, whether it's ground staff or cabin crew or pilots. Less personnel is in their favor, so that's their drive.
The regulator is considering the proposal.
We, as EASA, our role is about aviation safety in Europe, and as part of that, we have to evaluate the new technology that Airbus is developing. And if at the end of our evaluation assessment process we are convinced that these new technologies can be integrated safely in the cockpit and that they can bring safety value, we can approve them. We call that certification.
But pilots say they don't see how being alone in the cockpit increases safety in any way.
For me, it really wouldn't be the same profession anymore if there's only one. There is one essential layer missing, that constant checking of myself. I know that I'm human, I know that I do make mistakes, and the best life insurance that I have as a pilot is a well-trained other pilot next to me.
The European Cockpits Association has launched a campaign they've called One Means None to lobby against Airbus's plan to leave one pilot alone in the cockpit. The question they're asking is, would you get on board?